Good morning, and welcome to another episode of In the News. I'm your host, Freddie Shaban. Today is Monday, February 22nd, 2021. So let's dive in, shall we? We have a lot to talk about today. First things first, this just came through the Department of Justice website from the District of Minnesota. And here we go. Thai woman extradited to U.S. indicted for role in international sex trafficking conspiracy. United States Attorney Erica H. McDonald today announced the extradition and indictment of Shumali Intrathong, 59, for her role in an international Thai sex trafficking organization. The 10-count superseding indictment charges Intrathong with conspiracy, human trafficking violations, and visa fraud. 36 co-defendants have been charged and convicted for their roles in the conspiracy. On February 16, 2021, Intrathong made her initial appearance before Magistrate Judge Elizabeth Cohen Wright and was ordered to remain in detention pending further proceedings. According to allegations in the superseding indictment and documents filed in court, the criminal organization compelled hundreds of women from Bangkok, Thailand, to engage in commercial sex acts in various cities across the United States. Before her arrest in Belgium on August 5, 2016, Intrathong served as a boss/trafficker for the organization. Each trafficked victim was owned by Intrathong or another boss trafficker until the victim could repay an exuberant bondage debt of between $40,000 and $60,000. Intrathong and other co-conspirators arranged for victims to travel from Thailand to the United States and placed the victims in a house of prostitution somewhere in the United States. According to allegations in the superseding indictment and documents filed in court, Intrathong and other co-conspirators in the organization engaged in widespread visa fraud to facilitate the international transportation of the victims. Members of the criminal organization assisted the victims in obtaining fraudulent visas and travel documents. As a part of obtaining visa documents, members of the criminal conspiracy gathered personal information from the victims, including the location of the victims' families in Thailand. This information was later used to threaten victims who became non-compliant or tried to flee the organization in the United States. According to allegations in the superseding indictment and documents filed in court, the organization dealt primarily in cash and engaged in rampant and sophisticated money laundering in order to promote and conceal illegal profits. Throughout the course of the conspiracy, the criminal organization has moved tens of millions of dollars in illegal proceeds from the United States to Thailand and elsewhere. This case is the result of an investigation conducted by Homeland Security Investigations, Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS, Diplomatic Security Service, St. Paul Police Department, Anaca County Sheriff's Office, and Cook County, Illinois Sheriff's Office. With the support of the International Organized Crime Intelligence and Operations Center, the Justice Department's Office of International Affairs provided critical assistance in securing the defendant's extradition from Belgium. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Melinda William and Laura Povenzio are prosecuting the case with the assistance of the DOJ Civil Rights Division Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit and the Money Laundering and Asset Recovery Section. The charges contained in the superseding indictment are merely accusations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Defendant information: Shumali Intrathong, 59, citizen of Thailand. Charges: conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, 1 count. Sex trafficking by use of force, fraud, and coercion, 1 count. Conspiracy to commit forced labor, 1 count. Conspiracy to commit transportation to engage in prostitution, 1 count. Transportation to engage in prostitution, 1 count. Conspiracy to engage in money laundering, 1 count. Conspiracy to use a communication facility to promote prostitution, 1 count. And conspiracy to commit visa fraud, 1 count. So here we have Here we have a very sophisticated ring of sex trafficking. Basically what they were doing, this lady from Thailand, she was pretty much the boss, right? The brain behind it. And she was grabbing, as you know, Thailand is very, very extremely poor. And people average monthly salary is $50 to $100, sometimes $200 if they're really doing well. So she totally took advantage of that, and her connections with people that she knows in Thailand, and friends and all sorts of stuff. And I'm sure their relatives that had the dream to come to the U.S. so they can have a better life and be able to support their family overseas. And that happens a lot, by the way. So she would get these girls under the guise that, oh, I know I have connections in the U.S. I can find you a job. You can make really good money. You can help your family. You'll be living the American dream, because I've been all over the country, all over the world, and a lot of them think that we come here to the U.S. and we can actually find gold on the streets, which is not true, right? We all know how hard we work here in this country, probably harder than any other country. But anyway, and they bring them here under that guise and tell them, we want to get you a visa, because visa is really hard to get to the United States, right? They have a lot of prerequisites. You have to have money in the bank and all this other stuff, right? They really, minimize how many people can come here, especially now in this new age. So she was bringing them here, sending them here, and they were working them, telling them they got to pay between 40 and 60 grand. And I got to tell you, that might take 5 or 10 years if ever they're going to let them go. Because most of the time, once they got them, they're not letting them go. So that's a really sad story. And this is, like my other videos, I'll tell you, I'm totally against coercion and forcing people to do anything they don't want to do, no matter what age they are. And I'm pretty sure they were bringing a lot of people that were underage to sex trafficking here in this country. So let's go ahead and move to the next story here from the Department of Justice. I like to use the Department of Justice website because they update it regularly, and they always have accurate information, since they're the ones who are indicting these people. This is out of the Eastern District of New York. So this was dated February 19th, which was Friday, 2021. Mexican national extradited to face sex trafficking and related charges. Defendant and his siblings allegedly conspired to compel Mexican women into prostitution in the United States. Hugo Hernandez and his brother will be arraigned via video conference this afternoon before United States Magistrate Judge Fiera Scanlon at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn on a 12-count indictment, along with his siblings, Arcelia Hernandez and Ernesto Hernandez. And they have all their nicknames and stuff. So Velasquez is charged with racketeering of conspiracy involved predicate acts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. So basically, they hit him with the racketeering act, right, which carries 20 years to life, minimum 20 years in the feds. Interstate prostitution, alien smuggling, money laundering, and related offenses. So the reason why they hit him with the conspiracy and they hit him with the racketeering is because there's more than one crime being committed under that umbrella of the corrupt or criminal organization. And in this case, they were doing smuggling, they were doing money laundering, alien smuggling, interstate prostitution, fraud, and coercion. So they have a whole bunch of offenses. So they all put it under racketeering, because racketeering carries a long sentence with the feds. And also, this is the racketeering they created so they can get mob figures and organized crime, like the old Italian mobsters and stuff. This was designed for them, but they're using it on everybody, of course. From gang-related stuff like the Rolling 60s in LA and Las Vegas to Hell's Angels and biker gangs, and of course now with the sex trafficking. Okay, Hugo Hernandez was arrested on a provisional arrest warrant in August 2020 and extradited on Wednesday, February 17, 2021 from Mexico to the United States. His co-defendants were previously arrested in New York in November 2019 and are currently awaiting trial. So basically, his co-defendants were here, which is his brother and his sister, and he had fled to Mexico thinking, the United States Justice Department, long arm of the law, is not going to reach them. don't be fooled, kids. The U.S. has really long arms, and they can get you from anywhere pretty much, unless there's no extradition treaty. Even then, they can still get you covertly. Okay, let's just leave it at that. Seth D., acting United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, and Peter C. Fitzhugh, Special Agent in Charge, Homeland Security Investigations, New York, announced the charges. For nearly 2 decades, the defendants lured young women into a brutal life of forced prostitution through false promises of a better life. Stated acting United States Attorney DeCarm. This office will leave no stone unturned in its efforts to end the illegal exploitation of young women and in holding the defendants to account for their crimes and the lasting harm they have inflicted on their victims. Okay. Mr. Ducharme thanked the Department of Justice Office of International Affairs for their assistance, the New York City Police Department for its long-standing partnership, and the office's coordinated anti-trafficking program, and the State Department. Okay, this is all just protocol, thanking this and thanking that. I won't bore you with this stuff. Words can describe the type of person who preys on and victimizes women by forcing them into prostitution while using violence to maintain control over them. Hugo Hernandez and his organization did just that, treating women as mere commodities meant to be bought and sold rather than as human beings deserving of respect, stated HSI Special Agent in Charge Fitzhugh. As human trafficking operates in darkness, HSI works tirelessly to rescue victims out of the shadows as we investigate and hold accountable those who exploit and victimize others for their own financial advantage. As set forth in the indictment, since at least 2001, the Hernandez Trafficking Organization, a family organization based in Mexico, has used force, fraud, and coercion to cause young women in Mexico to engage in prostitution in the United States. Members of the organization lured victims into romantic relationships through false promises of love and support. Victims were taken to the homes of members of the organization in Tenancingo, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Mexico, where they were often not allowed to leave the home and not allowed to contact their families. So they basically alienated them. The victims were pressured to travel to the United States with promises of a better life with their trafficker. After the young women were smuggled into the United States, members of the organization transported them to various states, including Alabama, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. Wow. To engage in prostitution. In addition, the organization maintained a base of operations in Queens, New York. Members of the organization used violence, including physical beatings and forced abortions, and threatened violence to the victims' families to force the victims to continue prostituting. The prostitution proceeds were sent to members of the organization in Mexico through wire transfers and cash shipments. The charges in the indictment are allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So here's other defendants. They're 47, 40, and 45. Okay. So basically the same thing like the Thailand thing, right? Where these guys from Mexico were actually engaging in love affairs with these women, right? Acting like they love them. We're going to go to the United States, get you a better life and all this. And of course, it's a trick, bait and switch. They bring them here. I'm sure they smuggled them here without any papers. And now they really have control over them because they have the money and they have the means. And as the article said, they were using force and coercion, threatening them because they knew who their family were and who they were and where they lived in Mexico. So it's like, if you don't do this, I'm going to, harm your family. Just all the things that I've been telling you about, that it's totally not cool and totally not really, the way I did things. It was all straight up. It was women that actually wanted to be in this business. This is just not really cool to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. So that's another example of the sex traffic that I was telling you I was totally against, and guerrilla pimping. So let's see here. We can do one more Department of Justice. Let's see, we got one here. Okay, this is from the District of Colorado, again from the Department of Justice website. Colorado couple sentenced to federal prison for operating prostitution ring. This is dated February 12th, so it was a little bit over a week ago. Couple generated over $700,000 in revenue in 20 months. Denver, United States Attorney Jason Dunn announced federal prison sentences for a couple that operated an interstate prostitution ring out of Denver Tech Center. Defendants, Teresa Rodriguez, 40, of Fort Collins, Colorado, was sentenced to 15 months in federal prison. Co-defendant Jeremy Caron, 44, also of Fort Collins, was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison. Defendants Rodriguez and Karen were sentenced as a result of their guilty plea to 1 count of conspiracy to facilitate prostitution, 2 counts of facilitating prostitution, and 3 counts of transporting an individual to engage in prostitution. Defendants Karen also pleaded guilty to 2 counts of money laundering. Both defendants' sentences will be followed by 5-year terms of supervised release. Karen was ordered to pay an assessment to a victims fund of $15,000. Both defendants are also forfeiting more than $390,000 in funds, 2 vehicles, 20 watches, and are subject to a money judgment in the amount of $700,000 because the defendants stipulated that their conspiracy earned at least $700,000. According to facts contained in plea agreement, Rodriguez and Karen operated a prostitution ring in the Denver Tech Center from at least June 25th, 2018 to March 10th, 2020. So that's less than 2 years, right? About 20 months. At which time the enterprise was dismantled by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and task force officers. The enterprise recruited adult women from states such as Arizona, California, Florida, Illinois, Louisiana, and Utah to travel to Denver in order to provide high-end escort services that included commercial sex acts. Rodriguez and Karen paid to advertise the escort services online with provocative photographs of the women. Rodriguez and Karen then purchased airline tickets for women to visit for week-long stays, rented hotel rooms, and picked up cash proceeds following the sexual encounters. The advertising and travel costs were subtracted from the women's profits, and Rodriguez and Karen kept half of the proceeds. When messaging with buyers, Rodriguez and Karen typically pretended to be the prostitute because they did not want customers to understand that they were dealing with an agency and wanted customers to believe instead that the prostitutes were independent. In reality, Rodriguez and Karen kept an appointment book and arranged for the women to perform an average of approximately 8 commercial sex acts per day. This prostitution ring operated for years, victimizing dozens of women, said U.S. Attorney Jason Dunn. With some good investigative and legal work, we were able to stop it, protecting vulnerable people and holding predators accountable are core parts of our mission, and we are pleased that these 2 are headed to prison for their crimes. The FBI and our law enforcement partners have a great responsibility. Okay, this is all blah, blah, blah. The sentencing of Jeremy Karen and Teresa Rodriguez for their roles in the criminal enterprise will make our community a safer place, says Andy Tsu, agent in charge. I'm not even going to read this crap. Okay, so this is all bureaucratic bullshit. Okay, so basically these guys, pretty much they were doing, not what I was doing, but they were actually contacting people that were already doing this business and offering them to travel basically throughout the states. And they put an ad, travel ad for, let's say, Julie here from California, and tell her to come over to Denver because that's where they're really their hub. So they said basically bringing them over to where they were at, which I'm sure they had a roster of clients, plus they advertised them. So whatever came, because new girls always make the most money. So that made sense to bring the girls over to where they were at so they could have control over the girls and to, I'm sure, to collect the money every day because they didn't trust those girls, right? Because those girls could just take the money and run. So they would fly them out. And at the end, they charge them for the airline tickets and for the hotel and charge them 50%. So they're making about 60, 65% of the whole take, which was really, too much, in my humble opinion. But anyways, because what I did 50-50, but I also paid for everything. So that didn't come out of their end. They just kept 50. It's clear. And it will usually cost me about 20% more because I did everything upscale. So it was a lot of money that, I had to pay out. But anyway, so, and they did what I did, which basically pretend that they were, the girls. So the clients did not know that they were an agency, that were not independent, which I did the same thing with Madam Suzanne, the voice changer. This way you can have full control of the whole thing. And it's funny how they talk about, these girls were victims. These girls knew what they were doing. I'm pretty sure they answered ads or whatever, and they came to Colorado knowing what they're going to do, and they knew that they were going to get the money. But, they also always call them victims. Now, in the first two stories I reported, the Mexico one and the Thailand one, yes, that was completely wrong. You don't do that. You just don't take people, trick them into doing this, and making them do things and force them into do it. Totally against what I believe in, and any good human being would want anybody to do it to any other human being, right? So that I understand. I'm totally behind it, and I'm totally supportive of it. But if you women want to work, and obviously they wanted the money from these couple, they took all their stuff, and they were only in operation about 18 months, 20 months, so they weren't doing it that long, and to be quite frankly, they got very, very little time. I mean, one got 15 months, another one got 30 months, right? So in the federal system, they only give you 54 days off a year because you got to do 85% of your time. So the 15 months one, she's going to do about 12 months, about a year, and within 8 months or so, they go to a halfway house. So she's going to be doing a time in a federal camp, anyways, where they golf and do all this stuff. It's really true. Some of them do have that. And then the guy, of course, always gets more time. He got 30 months, so he's only going to do about 25, about 2 years, and within a year and a half, he'll be in a halfway house. And of course, they have to forfeit all their belongings, which hurts. Believe me, I know. They took all my stuff. And of course, they're going to be on 5-year supervision, which is usually in the federal system, you either get 3 years or 5 years. So in their case, they stretched them out to 5 years. So they're going to be watching them for the next 5 years after they get out. So they got about 7 years altogether worth of headache and heartache. But they're going to start from scratch too, unless they have some money put away, which I really doubt it because they only worked for a year and a half. Anyway, so those are the stories of the day. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you like, this segment, which is in the news that I do every Monday. I'd like to do a lot more stuff, and I'm really working on it. I'm trying really hard to give you some entertainment on a daily basis. Like tomorrow will be something else. Wednesday we have the live streaming at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thursday we have actually tomorrow we have guess the celebrity, and story time is on Thursday, and on Friday I really want to start doing interviews. I'm trying to get some people to do interviews on this channel, like porn stars, professional escorts, ex and active, of course. And meanwhile, I could do other things until we get those interviews. Anyway, so I just want to let you know I'm really trying hard. I hope you're having a great Monday here today. And I hope you're staying safe and stay healthy. And as always, stay happy. And if you have not found your happiness, please look deep within yourself. You'll find it. It's there. And if you are, let me just add this real quick before I let you go. If you are a sex provider or in the adult industry of any sort, whether you're in the porn, you're a porn star, or yourself, you're an actor or actress, or whatever gender, I don't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're transsexual, if you are a producer, anything has to do with sex industry. I would love to interview with you, to give you a little platform here that we have on this channel, Madam Suzanne, which nobody else has. So you can have your voice here. And I really mean this when I tell you that I'm in support of the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression, okay? So please contact me at madamsuzanne2020@gmail.com. In every video, there's the email address that you can contact me with, or you can leave a comment. I'll get a hold of you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Signing off, I'm Freddie Shaban with another episode of In the News. See you later. Bye-bye.